we've had a tweet from the Metropolitan Police. Let me just read it to you because it would be good to get your response to this. A crowd of United Kingdom protesters attempted to enter the sterile area, they say, on Whitehall that is a place to keep the two protests apart. Officers were attacked with projectiles and have had to use force to avoid their cordon being breached. So, look, a little bit of trouble, it sounds like. What do you make of it?
Yes, I mean, that's sad that's happened because I think the organisers for United Kingdom didn't want any disorder, didn't want any confrontation.
Yeah.
The sterile areas are there for a reason, to keep both opposing groups apart. That will not be what the organisers want to happen today. The Met will probably now be bolstering those resources, those cordons up with additional officers. And we saw earlier pictures with police carriers parked up in strategic locations and probably officers in full public order kit ready to come out. It's that sort of incident. And the commanders look at it and go, actually, we need to take our officers with our normal patrol uniform out that area and put our protected officers in. Then you get the allegations of, well, this is now two-tier policing. You're now putting officers out in, I'm not saying they have shields, but with like full flameproof silent NATO helmets as opposed to normal patrol uniform.
Yeah.
But that's because violence has been used against police officers trying to keep the two groups apart. So you have to look after safeguarding your officers, either bolstering the numbers in their normal uniform, or is it now the time to put our officers in more protective kit to protect them, to keep those two groups apart? The
Met have put out some video. I think we can show it to you now in relation to that tweet. Here we go. Let's have a look. Here we go. You can just get a bit of a close-up there. There's some gesturing towards those police, like you say, riot shields. Yeah, they've got long shields out. So that's obviously they put a unit out with long shields there to try and keep that group back, and actually using the shields offensively to keep them distanced from that line. So they've clearly, and I think that's probably, they've reacted to something before then. They wouldn't normally have those long shields ready with them. So they probably deployed a unit there with shields because they were coming under such sustained attack and violence. But when they get, like you said before, when they get those shields out, is there an acceptance that these things become a focal point just because they've got the shields? People, then some people, of course, it's always the few that ruin it for the many, isn't it? Some people feel compelled to respond to that. And they do respond to the fact there's a shield there. So again, the balance there for the command team. Do the officers need protection from having the protective shields, the long shields there? It's a police tactic to have a line of shields that you can put there to stop people coming through. You can then push against people. We've seen previous events where they prefer just to have officers, dare I say, using hand-to-hand tactics, push people away. But clearly it's escalated on that particular location. They had to put shields out, protected officers to try and keep these groups apart, because clearly the key priority for today is keeping both opposing groups apart. And it looked like that particular group were trying to get through to the opposition. Let me ask you about that sort of assumption I made, the few spoiling it for the many. Is that your experience, that most people will go along with this peacefully? They don't want trouble. They certainly don't want to get in trouble with the police. But there will always, by the same token, be a handful of people who do go out there to cause trouble. It's always a minority. Most people on this will have no idea that's going on. The people at Westminster Bridge, in Parliament Square, back at the IMAX will have no idea there's been confrontation. And they'll hear there's been police deployed with shields. Why are there shields? Why are they only coming out on shields with us? We've just seen evidence as to why the officers are having to use shields, because that group are a sustained attack to get through the officers, to get to the opposition, which has to be prevented. And clearly the command team have looked at it and thought the best way to protect the officers, because they need protection, is putting a fully kitted and protected unit out with shields to stop them getting through. But most people will have no idea that's gone on, and probably won't have seen that clip. It's good the Met have put that out so very quickly to justify and prove why they've had to deploy officers with shields. Yeah, it looks like an officer lost their hat or their helmet there. You can see those, you call those long shields, do you, Graham? Yeah, it looks like got your... But it's not full riot gear they're in there, is it? No, it looked like they got normal hats. So it looks almost like they've part deployed, and they've deployed them out. They've almost gone back and got the shields, but haven't fully kitted up in their full protective kit yet. So they've gone and got the shields and gone back to the cordon. At some point, I would imagine now the command team are looking at trying to change those officers over with fully protected officers in that line, if it needs it, if that cordon needs it. Look, we're showing our own pictures, of course, of what's going on. These are clearly police images. It does beg the question. They will have cameras all over this, will they? Yeah, the Met will. Yeah, they've got access to all the cameras in central London. So the command team, the special operations room will be watching this.
You can see I've got evidence gathering teams in there as well, mostly long shields, being managed by the sergeants at the back, going up to bolster that cordon line to try and keep that determined group from getting through to the opposition.
It's hard to understand what that gesturing is all about, isn't it? It could be, say, we don't want any trouble. It could be, it could be threatening and aggressive. It's hard to
quite often you don't know from behind the shield, but you're right to point out the fact we've got flat hats there. We haven't even got like NATO helmets, flat hats. I think probably they've, as I said, gone back to their vehicles, very quickly grabbed the shields and then gone back to the cordon line. They haven't had time yet to change that unit over with a fully protective serial.